This 75th anniversary issue. I must say it has been a pleasure to work with the three authors, and I would really thank them. And I would also like to thank all the authors who contributed to this journal and who are part of the audience today. 5 minutes, I can ask 3 questions to the 3 people who are sitting here at the podium. First question goes to Hania. She is both head of a department and editor of a very prestigious journal. The New Zürcher Zeitung, one of the most prestigious newspapers in Switzerland, published 2 weeks ago an article, Publish or Perish. The pressure on young people to publish more to get a tenure-track position. On the other hand side, there is more and more journals coming in, online journals, so there is a dramatic increase of the number of publications, which is probably not the case in terms of quality. First, what can we do, Hanyo, to have only a moderate pressure on our young, very talented doctors?
Ferdinand, I'm the head of the department. Members of my team are in the audience. Do you really want me to say do not publish?
We have no time.
No, it's not true, because everyone now and then I repeat, publish, 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 and publish in good journals. And I think it's really important. It's not. I mean, it's important to make an effort from the beginning, from thinking about good research. And if you if you perform good research, it's really highly unlikely that you will be not able to publish in a high impact journal. So I think the whole attention should be on doing proper research, and then everything else will come in a way automatically.
But what is worth more, one publication in a journal with an impact factor of 8 or 10 per year with 2?
My team, please do not listen. Well, I mean, there are areas of research that is highly unlikely that you will publish in a journal with an impact factor 8 or 10 or whatever, and still they will be important. And I think there is a lot of initiatives that also locally important research is really crucial. And sometimes in one country it's better to publish in a national journal, which will have a huge impact on what is happening in your country, than really aiming at publishing in a high impact journal that probably no one will, not very high, but high impact journal, and no one will really take a note. So I don't think that there is one answer to your question. I would say high quality research is important. If there's a high quality research, it will lead almost always to a high publication in a high impact journal.
Thank you. The next question goes to Hans. Resurgence of human milk and fortification. You had no time to address the fortification, but you mentioned protein levels up to 4 and 5 grams per kilogram, and this is not so easy to achieve because there are recent publications that the enzymes in premature infants are limited to digest this, even if it's human milk which is added. So what would be the future of human milk fortification in terms of offering good quality protein? What is your opinion?
It's a good question. The requirements of preterm infants are higher because they are growing at a faster pace. So the requirements are higher as they're growing faster. So we should supply them with more proteins. On the other hand, indeed their digestive function might be impaired, so we need to help them in their digestional function. And with regard to protein, that's very easily solved. One could also approach that problem by giving them amino acids instead of intact proteins. The enzymes, the need for enzymes are bypassed doing so. So that would be a way to solve that question, notwithstanding the fact that sometimes proteins have signaling function. So I would not advise to have a completely amino acid based formula or completely hydrolyzed proteins from breast milk.
Okay, last question, 1 minute. Ralph, you addressed the partially hydrolyzed formulas. The concept of this whey-based formula, which is partially hydrolyzed for prevention of atopic dermatitis, eczema, and allergic disease, is 20 years old. As you overlook the recent research, what do you think, what will the next generation of those formulas, if breastfeeding period is too short, what would be the proposed way forward?
Is this on? Yeah. It's a great question, and we're all thinking what will the next 10 or 20 years bring in terms of new developments. I think there's a greater focus on microbiome and microbiome modifying compounds. So I think the HMO story is something that comes to mind that would have hopefully some impact in terms of prevention. And the dilemma, or the academic dilemma, is now between what I presented about the LEAP study, for example, early presentation of intact proteins versus hydrolysis. What is the more promising approach? I think for milk that is not clear, and I think we need research in that direction just to see what is the more effective approach.
Okay, with this, I think we should conclude, Mr. Chairman.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we had a very nice late afternoon. You know now everything about the last 75 years what happened. But before we close the session, I want to thank people, particularly Natalia Wachmans and her team, for putting this together, because it was kind of a surprise for all of us. Thank you, Natalia. And of course, we all wish happy birthday to Anal Nestlé. And the way we should do this is like in a football stadium when the players are announced. You know how they do it? They say the first name, and then the second is from the auditorium. So I will say happy, and you will say birthday. I will say Anal, and you will say Nestlé. Okay? We'll try. Happy Anal, happy birthday. Thank you.